Hey everyone, this is 0xWing from RUNEBase.org, and you're listening to the RUNEBase.org podcast where we cover DeFi, crypto, and the Thorchain ecosystem. On this week's episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with three of my contemporaries, my colleagues, my friends from 0xVentures, and I spoke with AiRTX, the Bull, and UncleBadgers, two of the founders and one of the leaders, air quotes, I'm putting air quotes around leaders, of the 0xVentures DAO. The 0xVentures DAO is something that some of you might be familiar with if you follow along crypto Twitter or the Thorchain ecosystem. It's a group of about 80 people, 80 investors, traders, builders, developers, entrepreneurs who come together centered around primarily a Discord server, and they work on projects together. They invest in different startups, token projects, and they build and invest and grow alongside one another in a DAO structure. It's a very cool community. It's very active, very energetic, and it's a great community to be a part of. And with this conversation, we dove into the background and story of 0xVentures, and then we talk about the DAO model, DAO for decentralized autonomous organization. We talk about what that means. We talk about the projects that 0xVentures are driving forward. We talk about their treasury, where they generate funds from and how they choose where to direct those funds. And we talk about the implications that this model has on the future of governance and organizations around the world, and specifically fueled by crypto. It was a really fun conversation. I really love the work and the community that's being built here, and it's a pleasure to be able to share with you guys. And yeah, hope you enjoy the conversation. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, if you enjoy the conversation, please feel free to drop a review or like or subscribe wherever you're listening to this on YouTube or your podcast app of choice. Thank you again so much, and I'll see you on the inside. Peace. Thank you guys all so much for joining me. I'm joined today by three of the leaders, if you will, of 0xVentures. We have AiRTX, we have the Bull, and we have UncleBadgers. Guys, thank you for joining.
It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting us, by the way. It's really good to be here. And it's good to be with a legend as so of yourself as well.
I appreciate that. And I think it was only a matter of time. Anybody who's paying attention or is part of the Thorchain or like our little corner of crypto Twitter, 0xVentures is making moves and doing some really cool things. It's a pleasure to be a part of and a pleasure to watch. And so it's something that I think a lot of our listeners are going to be really interested in hearing about. So really appreciate you guys hopping on.
I always said that you were like the Naval Ravikant of Thorchain, so it's good to speak to you as well.
Super generous of you. I'm a huge Naval fan, and that's a lot to live up to, so thank you. It'd be great to start with some background. Give each of you a chance to just give a brief background about your story, how you got involved in crypto, and then how you ultimately got into 0xVentures. Let's start with who started 0xVentures. What was the genesis?
Basically, it was between me and the Bull. We were part of LP University, where Baloney Bones recruited us, and that was a great adventure, and I really appreciate Baloney taking me on board especially. I was just like a rookie helping out on the Discord channel, and yeah, he's seen some prospects in me, and that's pretty much started my relationship with the Bull. And basically, from then, we were just like, well, we're deciphering all this information about Thorchain and LPU, and even that's difficult, man. We were like, well, if we can decipher all this information as a team, then why can't we do it on the wider perspective, like on DeFi, and like help our position as well and everyone else's position who's in the group. So to just basically digest DeFi and all the different protocols and grow together rather than just on Thorchain and LPU. So that was the basis that came from it. And now it's funny enough, like we started because we wanted to keep up with crypto. And now it's like, we're trying to keep up with the group. That's how quick it's moving. So it's quite funny now. I'm like looking at all the chats trying to keep up with everyone else, not even just crypto, just like the group itself, because it's moving so fast and there's so many intelligent people and great people in there. And it goes from everything from like, we're talking about like everything from life to crypto. So it's great. It's a great group.
Yeah. I'm curious how you guys would define what 0xVentures is today. I've heard the term DAO thrown around, but how would you guys explain what 0xVentures is?
I would say it's just a very organic growth establishment, I guess, just like-minded people getting together and we're just DeFi degens really who have a home. That's it really. It's like a home just for like our antics, like for devs, for marketers, for DeFi degens, for anyone really. And it's just all grown very organically, and every member has as much say as anyone else. Like I'm not more important. The bull's not more important. Their tax isn't more important than any other member. We're all exact same playing field, and we all try and contribute to the DAO itself and grow it itself. And that's pretty much where we go. Like we go where everyone else wants to go.
Cool. And how about AiRTX? Anything you would add to that in terms of like how you might define 0xVentures?
Yeah, to be honest, it's a group of individuals who've never met each other, never seen each other's face, don't know each other's names, don't know where we all live, but we all work together for a common goal, I guess. I think that's something that you don't really see in real life, working together, making money together, losing money together. I think it's just really fun, finding really interesting projects to be involved in. And it's like an interesting group of individuals who all like different things. And I think it's important that we have that mix. I learn stuff every day that I'm not really, had no idea existed, and others learn stuff that I might have found out. And there's just so much information out there. It's a really interesting place to be a part of. And I'm lucky that I've been so involved, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm curious how each of you might describe like your involvement in the organization. Maybe starting with Bull. How do you personally participate in 0xVentures? What's your role?
I manage all the stuff related to website developments. I manage the treasury. I've been working recently on the 0xVentures website. I've been managing that stuff and everything related to these kind of things. And yeah, let's say a product manager as well in 0xVentures.
Cool. Sounds good. And Badgers, how about you? What kind of role do you take in the community?
Oh, it's a difficult one. I guess there's always someone who needs to have I know it's a DAO, but there's always us three, I would say, kind of try and put the hammer down a bit. So we do have a bit more contribution, and it does take a lot of time. So difficult question for me, to be honest, because we just started and just let it grow into what it is now. I just try and provide value as much as anyone else.
We actually started the group. We created a few sections. Then we were busy with Swap, me and Badger. And yeah, after a few weeks, we've been watching the group again, and we went crazy because there was already a lot going on. All the members that was involved, and they was bringing up new ideas. And then yeah, we was pretty excited to see the speed of the developments going on there. It's hard to keep up with all going on,
100%. And just to add my 2 cents in here as to my experience with 0xVentures being a member, I remember seeing, maybe it was a month and a half or 2 months ago now, in maybe June or July, a Twitter account appears. It was somewhat vague, and it was like born out of LP University, a group of elite traders, or I remember there's some sort of term used there, and it was like, don't ask to join, we'll ask you. And I was like, interesting.
I know who that was. And that was no one. I'm not going to name names. That was neither of us here.
Okay.
We actually receive 5 requests per day. It's getting insane because we cannot welcome any new members at the moment because we are pretty overloaded.
Yeah, I'm already overloaded.
Yeah. We can.
Please,
yes.
Right now, please.
The demand is huge for the group because it's very interesting, especially when you have the funds in the treasury, you reinvest them to build new projects. For example, the new project we are working on right now is the Terra map. We are planning to invest the funds from the treasury in the project.
Yeah, so that's another great thing. If people have projects they want to pursue within who are members, they just pitch it to the treasury, and if we have the funds to fund it, then we will. So we can fund devs, we can fund marketing campaigns, we can fund NFT projects, and anything that the team votes on, anything that the DAOs vote on, then we can just pass it. So it's pretty much just giving power to the members, really. So I wouldn't say our involvement's massive, but we're there to create, and we're there to push everyone in a good direction, and we set the rules and we set the ethos. And yeah, the amount of people in there who are just gigabrains, it's crazy. I personally feel half the time I'm out my desk reading everyone else's comments, just whoa, the strategies people come up with and the trading people come up with is crazy. So it's a privilege for me just to see all of this happening as well. So I'm pretty privileged to be in the group as well, I'd say.
I honestly, to be honest with you, the way I got in the group, I can say this because when I got in, I guess met the bull at LPU because I was trying to figure out how Thorchain worked. And then I remember him starting this group, and I'm like, oh, this guy really helped me with, understanding how LP work. I want to be involved. I want to understand like what else he's got to share. And now it's like, that's the cool part about this place is like, I learned so much stuff that I could never research, stuff that I could never find out. In just these chats and people explaining, oh, this is what I do. This is how I, make money, or this is what I find interesting. And it's like, oh, wow, I find this interesting too. Honestly, it was it's such a privilege in there. And very fortunate to be involved with, these two and the rest of the people. And then there's so many intelligent, bright minds that you've talked to, and you're like, wow, like this guy's thinking like 7 steps ahead or 10 steps ahead that you'll never even realize. It's just really fascinating just to see how people perceive the same thing you perceive, but are able to create something out of nothing. And I think that's really special. And I found that fascinating of seeing people that can do that. I think that's a really rare talent, to be honest. And there's a lot of people here who can create something or create value from nowhere. It is really, it's really crazy. I got to admit, it's really, really talented people like that.
It's a great group. I can mirror the sentiment of a lot of other people in the community and say that for a lot of us, it can serve as almost a replacement for crypto Twitter sometimes. Like instead of going to scroll crypto Twitter, we can hop into the Discord, and there's 100 people in there or roundabout?
Less. Yeah, 80. And 100 would be too much. It's already overwhelming sometimes. It really is, but yeah.
And the Discord is broken down into, subsections, and there's sections about, the major ecosystems like Terra or Ethereum or Solana or Thorchain. And then there's a subsection for early stage deal flow. So like crypto pre-sales that I think mostly AiRTX, it seems like you're like stewarding and shepherding a lot of this. I'm sure there's other sources of deal flow. I've referred one. I'm sure other people do too, but there's all sorts of pre-sale opportunities where OX will get an allocation and divvy that up amongst the community. And then there's internal projects, there's lifestyle. So there's things like, mental health or physical health or, off-topic conversations. And it's alive. It's a true, vibrant community of people that are building together and investing alongside one another. And it really is a spectacle to behold. So, we've stumbled upon something great here. How would you guys each describe the culture? I think these communities can all be a little bit different and unique from one another. There's another community that is a kind of maybe a cousin or a sister community that I'm in called Cheat Capital. And, it itself has a slightly different culture. How would you guys describe who the people are and what the communication and culture is like inside the server?
I can comment on this because I'm in there with you, and I've seen both sides. And it's crazy how different it is, right? I mean, it's like
it is. They're very different, yeah.
So wild, and in terms of like there's so much stuff going on, and there's it's very active, much more active, right? There's one side that is that, and there's another side that's calmer. It still has people. They still talk about stuff. They still have their internal jokes and all that stuff, right? And at the same time, a lot of the members there's members that are in both groups, and so it's like kind of like. One side is really crazy, one side is calmer, but at the same time, there's so much collaboration. I think that's really, really important, to be honest. And so that's what I see between, Chi and OX. I see a lot of that. And so, some people don't want all that noise, and some people do. I think that, I think that's a big difference. Not that like once one group is, better than the other. I think they provide different things for different people.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And yeah, I would say that it's impressive having built communities as well, seeing how collaborative, how much, it's not even just collaboration. There's something special achieved when people actually feel ownership in the community, when they don't feel like they're a part of someone else's community, but they are a part, I don't know if owner is the right word here, but they feel that sense of, they're bringing things to the table, they're proposing new projects, they're voting on how to direct the treasury. And that's something that I feel like a lot of communities lack. How did that happen with 0xVentures? Can you guys point to anything that you did earlier on or that you do now? Is it conscious? Was it just kind of subconscious and accidental? But how did this kind of extreme engagement If you could put your finger on anything, how did it come about?
I guess it's like we filtered people who joined, and like we want to create a space that's like value based. So if it's value based within the group, then we're going to be value based as a VC as well. So people are going to contribute as much as they can to stay in the group essentially as well. So we filter out people who don't. It's value based contribution, and the collaboration is just incredible. Like we've recruited a vast majority of people from many different backgrounds. People can just build what they want essentially. So I think like the main thing is just we set a bunch of rules and we set an ethos, and people went from there. Like one of the rules is like don't be scared to say something and feel stupid, you know. And I think that's like a massive part where like people don't really talk in the space because of fear of that as well. And it's like we're not just here for crypto, we're here for life. So that's another rule that we heavily portray. So like in terms of like trajectory, it's really organic, and I can't really pinpoint a specific time where everyone was like, oh, this is where we're going. The engagement's just really high because we provide value first, and people want to be there for that value, and people want to stay for that value.
And there's another thing I think is really important here to compare to like other groups that you see. Like there's a lot of groups out there that like require you to like buy tokens and hold certain amount of tokens to be involved in that community. And I personally think that's wrong. I think that's kind of ridiculous in terms of just seems like a massive, money grab, to be completely honest, right? That's the one thing I see. Another thing is that, yeah, we're here talking to you representing OX, but to be honest with you, we don't really control it like that. We like say, we have some rules, but like we don't have like a council, or we don't have like a certain amount of members of like, hey, this is my specialty. I run this part of the server. I run, this is my territory. We don't have any of that. There's like, it's everyone's territory, really. If you want to build this and you've talked to other members, like they want to build it with you, then go ahead and build it. We're cool with that. You know what I mean? It's not our job to say no to you, not at all. It's everyone's job to like agree with you or not. You know what I mean? So I think that's a huge difference between what we're building or what we're a part of compared to other groups, right? Don't you guys say? I mean, I think in the end of the day, it runs itself, really.
It's like a joint purpose as well. Like we're here to lift everyone else out. We're all here to be like financially independent. We're all here to like push the narrative of like DeFi is the future, because like we don't want to be slave to the traditional world. So like we're all here with a common purpose to be there and do that. So like what's stronger than having like a community of like-minded people, all with degen DeFi mentality, pushing a common purpose? Like we're striving to be better and create a better world, but we're also striving to be better in ourselves and for each other. So that's ultimately where it comes from, I think.
You mentioned anybody can bring up projects and propose projects to the community and propose opportunities to the community, and then it's up to the community to kind of decide what they do and don't want to take on. What are some of these projects? We've mentioned some before we hit record here, but I'm curious, what's a quick rundown of some of the things we've got going on in 0x?
So at the moment we are working on the Terra map. We have just finished with the website, and now we are working with the Terra map. Some community members already brought up some ideas, logos and everything, but just in the very early stage. Also, there is another project, some gaming project, but to be honest, I'm not really following up, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe Badger can give a better answer. And at the moment, these are the projects we are working on. But there are a lot of proposals that we are still need to define some details, like the newsletter is still work in progress, but it's another project the community brought up.
I'd say there's quite a few projects, and like we can't forget like the ongoing ones as well. Like we all started from LPU, Liquidity Providing University, that Lonely Bone set up. So we all started from that. So that's an ongoing project that's going forever. So we can't forget that one, certainly, and it's a great group as well. So great team. And so far we've got loads. Like even like it doesn't even have to be a part of OXV. People set up their own. Like there's a pack NFT squad. So they love the pack NFTs. They want to contribute. They want to get some poems. and create a book. So they all collaborated together, created a multi-sig, and then they all aped in together. And that started from OXV members. So that's like crazy. That's cool. And just witnessing that is just awesome, you know? And then we've got like an NFT team a bunch of NFT specialists in here that can just create what they want. There's devs there, there's artists and designers, and that's pursued many different flows as well. There's multiple OXB members working on multiple different NFTs for different ecosystems, and one of them's 4chain as well, so that's pretty cool. We have Fairbear and a bunch of other guys who love gaming, and they've started their own OXB guild, and it's all internal. Like we can just, we can invest into them, and they've sent a proposal to us with like investment strategies and what they would want from us and what like the initial capital to get started. So like we invest in them, and they can create their own like scholarships and create their own guild and just carry on, and that's us funding them, and they can pursue that, and they're changing people's lives as well in different countries who need that money, who earn like $100 a week on gaming on pay to earn. So that's pretty awesome, I would say. We've got like the Medium blog newsletters. We've got Thor Yield, that's Bulls on, that's pretty much started as well from OXV as well. We've got, I don't know, there's another proposal for an NFT incubator. We've got like a Delphi Insights subscription, like institutional one, where we all share the information, and we have one person delegate all the information from it and decipher it and share it amongst the group. And then we've got so much value to bring, like, and just like due diligence on projects and projects that we love and continue to love, and Medium blog posts for them to provide value. Like we want to set up index funds for other people who outsiders and people in the community that want to join OXB and invest with our strategies as well. So we've got loads going on, like so much, and it's hard to keep up with it. But we will just see how it goes, and as the treasury grows, we can fund more projects, and hopefully, just like let everyone retire and let everyone be full-time degens. Like it'd be great to have a treasury big enough just to fund everyone to be full-time degens.
Have you guys heard of the essay, The Cathedral and the Bazaar? Or I think it was a book, actually. It's about open source versus closed source production, specifically in the context of Linux, actually. But the Cathedral is a centrally designed, centrally controlled, hierarchical structure that's like planned meticulously from the start. And the Bazaar model is open source, much more chaotic. It's not necessarily as immaculate, as planned, and as precise, but it's more anti-fragile. And it's this kind of breakdown of this model of open source software in the context of software. But it just occurs to me when we talk about all the different projects that are going on, and how, you guys who obviously, you wouldn't necessarily wear any specific title, and you don't necessarily directly control or manage the direction of the group. Even you guys would probably consider yourselves, or other people would consider you, quote unquote, leadership for 0xVentures. And even so, you don't have a handle of all these things. There is this organic, Bazaar-esque kind of build style happening here, much more distributed, decentralized, and like a flatter structure. So,
no, for sure. Right. I mean, in the end of the day, we all have our interests, right? We all have, like, I remember reading that book. We all have our interests, right? UncleBadgers loves, he loves his Phantom. He's all about it. He talks about it. He's always there. He's always farming there. He's always there. And, if a project comes his way that he can put together on paper, right? And we start going through it, figuring out the problems to build it or whatever it is. For sure, it's definitely Bazaar, right? Everything's open for us. Even though, I guess, quote unquote, we are the leadership, we're not really leading anything. We do have, as he mentioned, some kind of ethos as in like, hey, this is what we should be doing. I think this is a good, positive mission statement. And then from there, you guys handle it. That's it.
It matches like the ethos of crypto, though, being open source, like crypto ultimately is like, yes, you have communities built, but the best code's going to win. It's like perfect competition. It's like, that's like, to me, that economic model makes sense, because it's like, you are like battling out over code. Someone could just fork your platform and just create it within seconds, create a new different community. But like, it's the community that makes the project, but it's also like the best code's going to win. So I think like that bringing in that philosophy to the group makes total sense, because it aligns with like what we build, what crypto's building, and what everyone builds. So to me, it makes sense just to go that route.
Yeah, I agree. I think it really is crypto native in its structure. When I was planning the Thorchain 101 guide, like if you want to describe to a completely, unindoctrinated like normie and no understanding of what crypto is, and you want to describe what Thorchain is and the value of Thorchain, you have to describe the benefits of decentralization. Like it's a decentralized exchange. What does decentralization mean against centralization? And what are the pros and cons of each of those models? And to talk about decentralization, you can talk about decentralization in a few contexts, and that can include from a technical infrastructure context. So, a centralized server infrastructure versus decentralized network infrastructure. But you can also talk about decentralized like managerial structure, like a hierarchical structure in a centralized system versus what 0xVentures represents, which is this decentralized organizational style. And it feels, I can't speak from too much experience going back decades, but it feels like a relatively modern approach that is fueled in a large part by crypto. Certainly crypto makes it much easier to collaborate with people who've never met across many different continents, relative strangers, but still coordinating value and money. I think that's something that crypto uniquely enables. It's interesting to be on the cutting edge of that.
I think the model itself, though, like being a DAO, I think it has so much more potential than, I think it has the potential to change the world, to be honest, because if you think about it, like a DAO itself, it's tested, but without borders. So you have like these nationalities and communities. It's like a nationality, but on the internet, and you're testing these DAO structures. And what's the fairest DAO structures? Like you have like Elastic DAO, who has like one of the fairest DAO structures where you get paid to partake in the DAO. And like structures like that are like trial and tested on the internet with different nationalities, but it's creating its own essentially like country on the internet. And that can be trial and tested to the point where it could take over politics. These DAO structures could literally take over political structures. And I think that's crazy. And that's definitely going to take over like economic structures of companies as well. It's not going to be top down anymore. It's going to be bottom up. And I think DAOs enable that. And just the whole possibilities of that is just crazy. And especially if they're built on oracles, it's like, what's a better DAO system that's built on the truth, that's verified, that verifies the truth? There's nothing beating that. And I think that could change not just like business models, but political models and everything, and just create the world essentially a better place. And it's so fast, and it's going to be trial and tested so quickly, that it's so efficient as well. Like we're living in so many different systems that are just so old and just burnt to play to the single players, that have so much power. And I think we're here to do more than that. We're here to like change those systems. And this is my revolution, I would say. That's why I'm so heavy into it, because I want to be part of the revolution. And I think definitely crypto, DAOs and oracles and all that is pretty much that. It is the change that we need. And like even protesting in the streets doesn't do anything anymore. And I think like us being DJs behind computer may hopefully change like the whole structure of the world one day.
Extremely well said. And I agree. When I explain the value of crypto to normies, that's how I perceive a lot of this, is in conversation with people who are less indoctrinated. One of the things I come back to is that what the internet did for information and for data, democratized it. It tore down borders. Anybody with internet access can get access to world-class education and the same information, which is novel. But money and value did not follow data and information onto the internet rails. Like traditional financial infrastructure made it so that like money still had a lot of friction to flow around the world. So true value transfer and money flow is not truly democratized. And now with crypto, money can follow data and information onto those rails, and not the least of which, like the internet changed how communities can communicate and how they can share information. But again, it didn't quite change how, it changed a little bit, but not fully 100%, how people can coordinate capital and coordinate resources and value. And so now with multi-sig wallets and on-chain governance and Discord and voting through polls and other governance structures, for the first time, we can truly do this cross borders. And it's really cool to be part of this experiment. Do you guys look to any other communities or DAOs for inspiration? Do you research this, or was this like truly just kind of like an accident?
You know what's funny? The same day I was looking at Chi Capital, and I said, you know what? I want to start my own group as well. The same day, believe me, the same day, Badger sent me a message about this as well. So I don't know. We have some kind of connection, maybe, because you know it was crazy. And then we just started inviting people who can bring value to the group, and then here we are now.
I come from a legal background, and I always looked at, how corporations or, legal structures can work better. I did a lot. I mean, when we started deciding, DAO, like what, trying to figure out what exactly is a DAO, what does it mean? What is, the utopia of it, right? And then what is actually realistically possible? I don't think there's a perfect DAO out there. I mean, a lot of people might perceive there is, right? But I don't think there's a perfect version of it, in my opinion. I think there's a perfect version of what you believe to be the most democratic way of running an organization, right? I think that's how I see it, in my opinion.
The thing I like the most is that there are no boss. I mean, me and Badger, we founded the group, we founded the DAO, but actually anyone can make a change, anyone can make a proposal, anyone can bring it over any project, So that's the thing that I like the most, because there are no admins, let's say.
I think personally, like, I know this is tied into the bigger picture, but eventually, like, I personally think one day when there is cross-chain and full chain enables like fully cross-chain, like, you're not going to be really picking the ecosystems that's the fastest or the most decentralized or the most, that has the most terabytes per second processed. You're not going to be picking those. You're going to be picking the ones that match your ethos and your philosophy in life. That's what I personally think. If you want the more decentralized protocol, you're definitely going to choose ETH. If you eventually that it's going to be one big massive collaboration, you're going to be choosing communities rather than what is like has the best specs. And that's my philosophy on how it's going to go, anyways. And it would be cool if it went that way, to be honest.
In terms of the treasury that 0xVentures manages and deploys, where do the funds come from? Are people paying for membership dues? Are people investing into it? Where is the treasury from?
The treasury comes from a portion of the proceeds of the investments that we take in as a group. We all donate a portion of it to a treasury.
That's something we touched on earlier, but we haven't really jumped in. I'd say that's actually a pretty central part of, at least I'm sure a lot of 0xVentures experience is these pre-sales. AiRTX, would you mind giving like a kind of rundown of what 0xVentures does in terms of funding other projects and what that process looks like?
Sure. There are many VCs out there that obviously have really, really famous names, are, big in the space, have, massive check sizes that they throw at projects. And, do I think that's right? If we were talking about decentralization of crypto, I don't think that's right, because basically you have a centralization of capital, right? You have, the top 5 or top 10 of these massive VCs that they put they're involved in every project, take over every project, run every project. And is that really a good thing? Now, it could be, but it also could not be, right? It's hard to pick a side. They're necessary for certain things and they can hurt in other ways. And it was always kind of a belief of like, when you start thinking about, okay, how do we come up with funds to pay for stuff? And you're like, okay, well, why don't we just release a token, right? Well, like, I don't think that's actually fair either, because what does this token really mean? What is it really, to be involved, to talk to other people? I don't find that fair. And then you're like, well, at the same time, well, let's find out the fairest way. There's people with a lot of money at OX, and there's people with not that much money at OX. And we, believe the fairest way would be like, hey, we want to be involved in projects that we believe in, right? Not every project, but the projects we believe in. And let's use a portion of that to fund what we as a group want to do, right? We're totally okay with that. And so that's kind of the goal of of 0x, is to be just like your VC in terms of providing you capital, but more than that, connecting you with other projects in the ecosystem, other developers in the ecosystem, marketing aside, just explaining what your product does to the average individual. I think that's really important, and people don't emphasize that there's a difference between shilling something and saying, "Hey, buy this," or or then explaining your investment thesis. And I think that's something we do pretty well. And I've studied the best way of explaining stuff, of like, hey, we're not just investing in something and forgetting about it. We want to explain why we invested. I think it's pointless to just throwing money at stuff. And so that's one thing that we do is we make strategic investments that we believe in. There's a research team that does the due diligence and says, yeah, okay, let's move forward with this to the wider group. And we take positions and we stick with those positions. And I think that's a big part. And you're contributing not to just a VC, but you're contributing with people actually using your product in the end of the day and giving you feedback. What's the point of just getting money? You're getting tons of feedback of like what works, what can be better. People using your protocol in the way you intended or the way you didn't intend it to be used. And I think that's very valuable to a lot of projects, especially if they're coming out and saying that, hey, we want to be part of this decentralized world, but yet, let's centralize stuff. It's kind of an oxymoron sometimes. And so I think this, our investment side, I honestly don't even want to call it pre-sale. I think to the investment side, as a group of individuals, that we want to take certain positions and stay with them and be involved in certain projects for certain reasons, right? It's all kind of thesis based. And sure, do we want to make money? Of course, who doesn't want to make money? But it's way more than that. We don't just forget about a project. We write about them. We have a team of writers, talented writers. I mean, I got to tell you, some of the most talented writers I've seen, even in law, are part of 0x. And people who can explain complicated things into a very simple way. There's certain protocols that I have trouble understanding. I really do. It's very difficult for me to understand how they work. But lucky enough, we have 3 people who can hey, this is what it actually does. I'm like, perfect. Let's write that. And so, we get excited about certain things that I can't get excited about. I'm like, I don't know. This doesn't seem like, no, you don't understand. Like, let me explain to you why. And that's another cool part. It's not up to me. It really isn't. Do I handle the investment side? Do I make sure the paperwork's done correctly? Do we make sure that we're covered legally? Sure. I use my previous legal experience. I make sure that everything's done legitimately and legally. But at the end of the day, it's not me saying, hey, let's get this project or let's throw our money there. It's the group decides, hey, we want this. We want to be part of this. Why? Because X, Y, and Z. I think, this is a great value add for us. We have a bunch of, for example, gamers here. We should be involved here. We can really, really show them our strengths. We can write game guides or we can write all sort of stuff. So, that's our value add. That's what we do. That's what we want to do. And, to provide these connections to projects in terms of market makers or exchanges or, DEXs or whatever. We have those connections. People in there have been there for a long time. We have, we have our own validator on Luna. We have our own Thorchain node. We have those connections as well. Not only the Tradeify connections, we have the DeFi connections. And I think that's really, makes us stand apart from a lot of these other, groups out there. Is we're not just throwing money. We're not just picking tons of projects and just, chasing logos. No, we pick what we want to pick. We pick what the group wants to pick. There's 80 of us. We all have different, and we explain why we want certain things. I like certain projects over another. And I try to, explain to the group and try to convince them. If I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. We move on. And I think that's really important.
And I think it's not just early stage investment. It's we're still investing into projects we actually believe in that would change the space, and also being early to projects as well is very important. So having a team and group of people to find projects and be early and support them as well. So like we've been heavy into Spell and we've been heavy into Toke, and like the whole group's been like that, and we provide value. Like we've had like great graphics for Spell. We've had people, like create a blog for, well, in the process of creating a blog for Toke, and we're just trying to provide value, not just to complete like private sales, but like, actual like fulfilling DeFi projects that are still in it now. Like even like Haven after that hack, we're still in it together as a team, supporting Haven as well. Like we're still very heavily into DeFi, from all angles, from everything, even onto like the Phantom Network, Solana. Everywhere we go, we are part of it. So it's more than just a VC. We're actually supporting like a well-established projects.
Yeah, it's cool to see that, when we look at how crypto and Web3 have disrupted fundraising on the, like, I think it disrupted fundraising first on the project side, like how startups can get funded, but then also to AiRTX, your point about how capital can form and how it doesn't have to come from a centralized fund or firm or angel anymore, but it can come from this decentralized bazaar of a DAO. I think, crypto has changed both sides of the fundraising equation, and it's just really cool to be part of an early experiment on that frontier. Awesome. So with a few minutes left here, I think, the kind of last thing I'd love to get a handle on here is, what does the future hold for 0xVentures? First, yeah, I mean, if any of you want to share, like what you hope to see, or
what I hope to see, I'll tell you right now, I'll be very honest. What I hope to see is for OX. No, I'm being serious, because I get these questions a lot, because I talk to, projects or capital and try to explain what we are and what, like, we're not going away. Like, none of us are going to go away tomorrow. I don't think the bull is going to like disappear tomorrow because he's somewhere else. He's in it for the long run. I think I'm in it for the long run. Badger's in it for the long run. Everyone at OX, correct me if I'm wrong, is in it for the long run. There's no one guy or one person's like, yeah, I don't know, next year or next month I might just forget about this. Whether it's like they're down really hard or up really hard, they're long time commitments. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. A part of that, personally, I can say, is because it's not work; it's fun. So it's like, yeah, it's like I'm here, playing and engaging in this community, and I'm not thinking about a timeline.
Yeah, and you're part of something greater than yourself as well, which is important for one's sake of well-being and one's sake of purpose in life as well. And like we're not going to go anywhere because we all think that this is going to change the future of how we interact and how our kids are going to react and how our family's going to react and everyone we know interacts. Eventually it's just going to be part of everyday life, and we're here to push that. And it's crazy to think that a bunch of people who are anons are essentially creating that as well, and we all have our own like unique identities, and we don't have to like hide behind our like normie fabrication. We've got like our new ego that we can control and create for ourselves. And you're not scared to say what you think because you've got this anonymity like backing you. And I think that's what OXV is about. We've got this like trajectory ahead of us. We're all anons. We all fit the category of degens, and we want to change the space. And even from that, it's been crazy. Like the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of people anons open up about their mental health, and I think that's like a trajectory we could go with OXV, because we're, like I said before, we're not here to support each other just through crypto. We're here to support each other through life. So having something like a therapist or like a mental health support network within OXV would be something I would want to see in the future. But also like us being like financially independent, and everyone in the group being financially independent, and like we're all fought like for the treasury to get big enough that we're farming stables that we can like give everyone like a stable income, like a monthly paycheck. That would be something I would want to see. So realistically, it's all about like lifting each other up and lifting like crypto up and like portraying it as the future, because it is the future. So I think personally, for me, that's where I want to be. I'd want to be like we are like the Robin Hood community of crypto.
Love it. Awesome. Well, guys, where can people go to learn more about 0xVentures? And I know you mentioned publishing or writing. Like, where can people go to read the work that you guys put out?
We have a Twitter. It's 0xVentures at 0xVentures, and then we have a Medium as well. That's also called 0xVentures, which is very clever. And it's all, and then we have the website, 0xVentures.org. You can check that out. It's really nice, created by us. And I think it's, that's the cool part. We did that all by ourselves. All of that is community based. And it's one of the best looking websites you see if you go anywhere. It's, these people are very talented at what they do. And they decided, hold on, let me contribute my time and money. The web hosting, our members are hosting that, right? Let me contribute my time and money for the greater good of this community, because I want to, I want to help and I want to be involved. I mean, you think about that and find out other kind of organizations that are willing to do this, right? Because there aren't many. I think that's super. That just shows the commitment that the individuals here have, and I think that's really special. And I'm very honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, the cool part is that we have every resource in the group, so we don't need to go anywhere else to find resources to build anything, because actually we can build anything we want. We have everything in the group.
Not enough Rust developers. If you're a Rust developer, reach out. We need more Rust developers. We have everything else, but if you know C or GoTeal, hit us up. Hit me up.
Love it.
Yeah, and likewise, join the community channel as well. We have a community Discord, which is great for anyone who wants to join. And we will be recruiting from that community Discord as well. And the website itself would be the basis of how the DAO will be run. It would be where you can see your pre-sales. It'd be where you vote on proposals. It'd be where you can see your own little portfolio on all your investments, and it'll be literally where everything's grown from. So it'll be the hub for the DAO as well. So it's pretty crazy and pretty cool, and you can connect your wallet to the actual website and do everything via that.
Love it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. And actually, as you're talking, I'm looking at the website. This is the first time seeing it, and wow. But awesome, guys. This is super fun. Great to connect with all of you again and just get an even deeper look and conversation about what's going on with 0xVentures. Thank you, guys. I'll see you in the Discord.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Man. Pleasure. Thanks for having us on. Really appreciate it, man. And keep up the good work with RUNEBase and external projects as well, man.
Appreciate it. Will do, guys. Peace.